Hey guys, have you ever woke up one morning to find out that everything is gone? Everything that you've been pouring your heart and soul into for months or years is just vaporized. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Hey guys, welcome to the show. And today I am without Justin. He is out of pocket, so he has turned me loose on the show and said, go and do something and make it really, really good and don't embarrass him. That's basically what he said. So I'm going to try not to embarrass Justin. I'm going to try to be as relevant and bring as much value as I possibly can here all by my lonesome. If you're just joining us for the first time, you have no idea who I am or why you're watching this, my name is Dave Curley, and I'm the founder of Church Training Academy, which is an online website and community where we all learn how to use and exploit media and technology so that we can fulfill the Great Commission. You can go to churchtrainingacademy.com and see all the cool stuff that we're doing there. Have a lot of free stuff for you, and there's even a link to join and become a CTA Insider. We'd love to have you. Today, I want to share with you guys a very scary story from a very good friend of mine. I was sitting at my kitchen table one morning with my laptop, and my chat window popped up, and it was my buddy Gary Leland. If you guys don't know who Gary Leland is, he is I don't even know how to describe Gary. What do I usually say? Gary's like a media mogul, right? He's got this little media empire that he's built since 2006, 2007. If you go to Fast Pitch TV, he is the guy that started Fast Pitch TV. He's got like the largest podcast web show on girls fast pitch softball, and he cornered the market on that. I mean, the guy's like in charge of like live streaming the Fast Pitch World Series at one point, which is really cool. He's like the definitive resource online for fast pitch, and he's taking his love of podcasting. He's the founder of Podcast Movement. He's a longtime podcaster, has done lots of shows. One of the most recent shows that he's done is the Fixer Upper podcast. Gary, just out of the blue one morning, reached out to me and said, let's see, you have any idea how to recover a deleted Facebook group? And I was like, huh? What? What do you mean? He said, I woke up and one of my biggest Facebook groups is gone. It's completely empty. There's nothing there. And last night, there were 50,000 users in that group. And I was like, what? You're kidding. He said, no. He said, I have no idea. No idea what happened. He had 50,000 users in a private Facebook group. 50,000 people that had said, yeah, I want to be a part of this group. And the whole group is gone. Now, Gary didn't go in and delete the group. His administrators didn't go in and delete it. He just woke up. Facebook had removed the group. It was gone. And let's see. He said he was recapping for me. He said he lost one group, had over 50,000 members. He was never able to recover it. Okay. He tried to contact Facebook and get their help and got a whole bunch of automated replies. No help whatsoever. He said that he never was able to recover or rebuild that group. And he said it just disappeared. He's got like 400 plus groups on various subjects. And this was by far the largest one, the most profitable one for him, and gone. And his ability to speak to those people and to drive them to his products and his services and help them as he had been for, months and months or years, just gone. And he was completely dumbfounded, really angry, and completely helpless. Now, why am I sharing this with you guys? Gary learned a really important lesson that day, and I learned a really important lesson that day, and it's something that I have been hearing, wisdom that has been spoken into my ear many times over the past several years, has been that we as publishers, as content creators, okay, and in the church space, you know that what we are doing as churches is we're basically glorified event coordinators and producers, right? So you may think in one sense that you're doing a church service, a worship service, or a sermon or what have you. The reality is, when you take a step back from that and take a look at what you're actually doing, you're producing a weekly event every Sunday morning. Okay, and it may be two events. It may be a 9:30 and a 10:30 or 11 o'clock event that you're doing, but it's a live event. It's a live stage show, for lack of a better term. Okay, you've got music, live music. Like a little micro concert, if you want to look at it from a secular standpoint. You've got audience participation, and you've got a speaker that is delivering a message, presentation every single week. You're producing live events, right? And now, because you're working with Church Training Academy, and because you're getting ideas on how to move beyond just the live event, you're also learning how to live stream that event. You're learning how to podcast that event. You're learning how to publish that event. And you're learning how to use things surrounding that event to engage people on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all that sort of stuff. Now, that's all great. That's wonderful. The problem is, guys, that there's a large portion of that publishing workflow that we don't directly own. And that's a huge, huge problem. It's something that Gary learned, is that he's at Facebook's mercy. Frankly, we're at YouTube's mercy. We're at Instagram's mercy. If you don't own as much of your platform, and if you guys don't know what a platform is, it's basically in this case, your online presence, okay? Think about it like this. If you're renting a space to have your church, you have a mobile church, right? And if you're renting the high school auditorium or a movie theater or something, you are basically at the mercy of the owners of that facility. Depending on if you have a contract or a lease, or if it's something informal, especially if it's something informal, you're really at their mercy. Sorry, you guys can't have church this week because we're doing a school function and we need the auditorium. Okay, great. Now what are we going to do? If they cancel on you and say, you know what, 2 weeks notice, you guys got to find another place. You guys now have to find another place to have your service. You got to go do it at at another school or another, and you got to find a room to rent. I mean, you got to do something, and then you got to let everybody know that we're over here now and stuff. So it's the same way online. We don't own YouTube. We don't own Facebook. We don't own Instagram. What we do own is our email list, right? And what we do own is our website in most cases, or let's just say an ideal case, okay? We have to understand that because we are digital sharecroppers, for lack of a better term, and I really like that term because, the sharecroppers, they had very little control back in the day, back when they were sharecropping. They had very little control because they're at the mercy of the landowner and the parcels that he allowed them to farm, and the whatever the amount was, the sharing of the yield. We're doing that a lot in digital space. I have run into churches that don't have websites. I've run into individuals that don't have websites, that are like entertainers and stuff. I was talking to a guy yesterday for another show I do. He's a musician, and wow, he is a really good musician. And I said, what's your website? And he said, oh, it's Facebook, facebook.com/blah. And I was like, really? Really, only on Facebook? I said, you don't have your own website yet? And he said, nope, don't have my own website yet. Everything I do is pretty much on Facebook. And I was like, really? What happens when Facebook says, I don't like your music, I don't like your page, and they accidentally delete it or something? What happens if you wake up one morning and you've got a group of 50,000 people and all of a sudden it's destroyed, it's gone? What are you going to do? If you don't have any place to direct these people or any way to communicate with these people, you are lost, you are messed up, you are treading water with no one there to throw you a life raft. So I want to share with you guys some ideas and some thoughts about how you can kind of disaster-proof all that. First things first, we need to realize that YouTube and Facebook own their platforms, and they make all the rules. They have the right and the responsibility to police their platform and remove content as they see fit. And we have to understand that. We really should appreciate that, and we have to accept that. That is the way it is, okay? I don't know if you guys pay attention to what's been going on YouTube for the last few months. creators that I know are referring to this as the adpocalypse. My buddy Conrad Martin, Conrad Know-How, could tell you about this. It's a plague that a lot of creators are dealing with. They're finding out that all of a sudden they're not getting monetized. Their videos are not being monetized. And they may have had like really good monetization. What's monetization, you ask? Basically, the ads that show up on YouTube videos. A lot of YouTube creators and content producers and stuff have ads on their content, and that's one of the ways that they make money. In some cases, it's like the only way that they make money is on, you and I clicking on that ad or seeing that ad, getting so many, views on that ad, and then the advertiser pays them a portion of money, according to what the agreement is with YouTube. So, if you've got somebody that's got 100,000 viewers and they put out a video and each video gets 20 or 30,000 views at a time, these guys can make some serious money. And what's been happening is all of a sudden the ads have been going away and all of a sudden their check is like really small and they can't pay the rent. Now, what does that have to do with a church? Very little in reality, because none of us are like putting ads on our sermons and on our Bible studies and on the promo videos and whatever else we're publishing to YouTube. At least you really shouldn't. I guess you could, but don't be surprised if, there's that awkward time when you have a series on marriage, on, obviously on biblical marriage, little pop-up that comes up for, condoms. That's why a lot of churches and stuff are not doing any kind of monetization on their YouTube channel, which is fine. And YouTube's fine with that. They got no problem with you doing that. So that really doesn't have much of an effect on us as churches. The other side of this could. One of the other problems that YouTube has been having has been that people are having their channels turned off. Sometimes they're able to communicate with YouTube and get to the right people and get them turned on because it was a mistake. And other times they're just, they just have to keep sending emails and trying to go through support and the help forums and stuff like that, and hopefully they will get it taken care of. One of the big problems with a lot of these online services is their support or lack thereof. I'm not aware of a 1-800-Facebook that you can call and, hey, Facebook technical support, this is George, how can I help you? I don't know about anything like that. Why are they doing this? You got to remember, guys, that YouTube is in a very unique position, something that really hasn't ever happened in the history of the world, really. We've got YouTube, which is a global platform in most countries, and they have billions of users, and they have hundreds of millions, if not a billion, people that are like uploading videos on a daily basis. All over the place. Anything, okay? From, here I am drying my hair and I'm going to fix my hair and upload the video about how to fix your hair to, Jimmy Fallon, who, takes the monologue and puts it up on the YouTube channel, or, NBC does. So it's all over the place. And they've got advertisers that are trying to sell advertising on there. And these advertisers have certain standards, for good or for bad, in their company. We don't want to advertise on political shows, on political content. We don't want to be controversial. So don't put any of our ads on any kind of political show. Okay? Don't put any of our ads on any kind of religious-themed show. Okay? Only put our ads on family-friendly shows. Only put our ads on family vlogs channels. There's that kind of stuff going on, and YouTube's got to figure out, how do we automate this process so that the ads can get shown in certain places? Now, again, that doesn't directly affect us as churches and ministries, because we're not doing a lot of advertising in our channels, right, on our content. The other side of that is they're also trying to clean house. There are some channels and some content out there that is just horrible. And they're finding this stuff because of the advertising stuff that is going on. There's a lot of crap out there. There are channels. There's even channels that are billing themselves as family channels, right? Family vlogs and stuff. But the content that they're putting in there is disgusting, horrible stuff. People hurting themselves, children smoking cigarettes, babies eating poop. I mean, I know it's disgusting. And thankfully, YouTube is trying to get all that garbage cleaned out of there. Some of it they're able to do by hand, and then the algorithms to sort of like find some of this stuff and deactivate it. So this garbage is not being propagated, and kids and stuff are not being exploited. And that's admirable. That's great. It's growing pains that they're going through. Now, why am I talking about all this stuff? I'm reiterating the point that you don't have any control over this because it's YouTube's. They make the decision, and they make the decisions that are based on, and this goes for Facebook as well, that are based on their criteria and their policies, okay? When it comes to YouTube and Facebook both, I take this thought of we don't have any control and I start extrapolating it out. And because I've, been studying end time prophecy and reading Revelation and see how if you just cross-reference your Bible with the current events in the newspaper and stuff, I mean, how many of you out there, show of hands, how many of you have said, what is going on? Right is wrong. Left is right. Right is left. Inside is outside. Upside down is right side up. Guys, there's scripture that says that, every man will do what was right in his own eyes, right? And that the right, people will do things that are wrong and everyone will say that they're right. And there's all kinds of chaos and stuff going on out there. Because of that kind of stuff that's going on, we really, as Christians, don't have any control. I see a time somewhere that by accident or by purpose that YouTube or Facebook decides, one of the big problems is churches and is Christians, and they're causing problems and they're intolerant and we don't want to be associated with them. So we're going to shut down their pages and remove their channels. Now, Justin says Facebook's never going to do anything like that. YouTube's never going to do anything like that. Okay, maybe they won't. Maybe they won't accidentally shut down YouTube channels because of offensive material, and then the reality is that there's nothing offensive. Gary, who I talked about at the beginning of the show here, his group was like all about softball and fast pitch softball and stuff. Nothing really offensive in there. Somehow Facebook, either an accident or an on purpose, said, nope, we're killing this group. And Gary is still, 2 years later, waiting for an explanation. Not ever going to get one. He can say, hey, why'd you do this? Sorry. Hey, could you please restore it? No. What can he do? Sue him? Why? He can't sue him. He hasn't paid them 1 red cent for that space. He's not renting it. He's borrowing it. So will YouTube ever decide that they don't want to host church stuff? I don't know. Christian content? Maybe just churches. I don't know. Think about it. Let's look at it from just a financial standpoint. If none of us are putting advertising on there, but all of us are uploading 3 gigs a week or 5 gigs a week of content up to their platform, taking up their hard drive space, using their bandwidth, using their processing power to crunch it and to compress it and to stream it, and using their bandwidth to stream it out and do and not paying anything for it whatsoever, just freeloading on that service. And they say, you know what? All these churches are not paying us 1 red cent, yet they're taking up 2% or 4% or 5% or whatever. I have no clue what it is of our platform. Let's just tell them they either need to pay or get off. And so they start charging. Or they say, you know what? Just no churches. Sorry. Or if you're going to be on here, you have to be monetized. You have to let us serve ads. And here we are stuck, they're a company with their own concerns and their own fiduciary responsibilities and stuff, and they decide, you know what, this content we don't want to be associated with. I know I've really beat this dead horse, but I want you to understand just how serious it is that you don't have control over all that. And I don't want you to be stuck in a situation where all of a sudden you can't communicate with any of your church other than at the live event, or your online content dissolves and now 5 years worth of sermons and Bible studies that you have published on your website are not accessible. All of the videos just show this content is no longer available. So I want to give you guys a few tips, some action steps that you guys can take to kind of make this a little bit more bulletproof maybe, so that if something goes wrong, you're still covered. You can still, take a little time, but you can easily recover from a lot of this stuff. So what can you do? First things first, you guys need to be hosting your own website. If you don't have a website, you need to set up a website. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, guys. Don't rely on somebody else to provide you with space to promote yourself, because at some point they're going to change things up, or it's going to get lost on the shuffle, or they're going to change their business model, and you're left out in the cold. When someone says, "Hey, what's your church's website?" and you say, "We're Tate Springs Baptist Church on Facebook," that's not what you should be saying. You should be saying, "Go to tatesprings.com," right? Or Bill and Ted's Excellent Baptist Church.com, or whatever it is. You need to have your own website where you're publishing your own content at that website, and then seeding it out to the social platforms and YouTube and Instagram and all that sort of stuff, okay? Everything starts and stops at your website. All roads point back to your website, and from your website, things go out. Parenthetically, there are hosting platforms that are better than the others, okay? I tell everybody, and I have for years, and I'm going to keep telling everybody for years, you need to have a website that you have the most control over, okay? Which means that you can back up and put somewhere else with a modicum of effort. And here's an example. There is a video hosting company called Vidler that I used to use. They came out in 2007, 2008, something like that. And they had like a free service and they had like a paid for service. At some point, Vidler said, you know what? We're going to charge a lot of money for our paid service. We're going to change our business model, and we're going to do things a lot different. So emails went out that said, hey, everybody that's got a free account, here's a link to download your stuff. And, you guys have 30 days to clear off our platform. We don't want you anymore. I mean, like, it was nicely worded, but that was the sentiment that they said. We're stuck. I've got these things embedded all over the place. Couldn't do anything. Had to download my content and take it somewhere else. There are website hosting services targeting churches, and I know that sounds negative, and it's not, but I don't like it. They are they sell you a package that has so many pages and has so many updates, and if you want to add video, then it's X amount more a month and all this kind of stuff. I don't like those services because they usually lock you into their platform. They make it hard for you to migrate to another platform. If they don't, at the very least, provide you a way to export your content so that you can put it on a WordPress-based website, then you're kind of stuck having to be their customer. And again, you're out of control. Now, you're paying for the account, and yes, it's yours, and quote unquote, you own it, but you're kind of at their mercy again. So I tell people, go with a platform that you can easily bring in your content and easily take your content away. And WordPress is the easiest and most flexible way for you to do that. Okay. So, if you're looking for WordPress hosting, then, I've got an affiliate link. You can go to churchtrainingacademy.com/siteground. And that's who we're using, and I love them. I think they're great. They're fast. They do some great caching. It's great. Fantastic. There's other services. You can use Duda, which is one of the ones that Justin uses. He develops using their platform, and he loves it. There's Wix. There's Squarespace. There's easy to use, easy to navigate. But they also provide ways for you to get your content out so that you can put it somewhere else. In fact, with Squarespace, you can take a WordPress site and ingest it into Squarespace. And when you're done, if you're like, I don't want it to be on Squarespace anymore, you can export it back out so that it can go to another, to a site using WordPress or whatever. Another thing you need to do is you need to have an email list. If you don't have an email list, guys, then you really have no surefire way to be able to communicate with people, okay? If your church's Facebook group goes away or the Facebook page gets shut down, you can't deliver a message. You're going to have to mail things out if you can't email them, right? So do that. That gives you the ability to do things like do your announcements through email. You can do a newsletter if you want. There's pros and cons against doing newsletters. You can send out regular emails, regular communications. You can segment that email list, which is really cool. You can have new members, and so you have a series of emails that only goes to brand new members. In fact, you can have an email sequence that every time a new person joins the church, and they get categorized as new member to the church, then they go through a welcome series. Or people that come and visit the church and give you the email and categorized as visitors. Then you can have certain emails that you send out to them that are specifically designed to help move them from being a visitor to becoming a member. And then once they're a member, from being a member to engaging in a Bible study or something. I mean, you can do all kinds of great stuff with an email service. We use ActiveCampaign, love ActiveCampaign. So, and I'll put a link down in the show notes for both SiteGround and ActiveCampaign. That's what we're using here at Church Training Academy. That's who we like, and that's who we recommend. Now, how about publishing your content, okay? So I talk about a publishing workflow or an outline for publishing that I want to share with you guys. And I recommend this for all churches. We're doing this at Tate Springs. Here's an outline that I'm using. You publish your services to YouTube. Now, if you're live streaming, right, to YouTube or Facebook or multiple points if you want, kind of like I'm doing here. I'm publishing to Facebook, and I'm also publishing on another machine over here, is publishing to YouTube. So you record your sermon and trim it up and all that, and then upload it to YouTube. Now, the question is, do you do the entire, from, hey guys, welcome, and all the opening music and stuff to the benediction and put it on YouTube? That's fine. A lot of people do that. A lot of churches do that. Or do you do just like the sermons? Okay. I am in the camp that says do the sermons, because you can use that. You can basically build a reference archive on YouTube. YouTube automatically generates closed captions and stuff. Sometimes it's really, really good. Sometimes it's comically off, and you can always go in and update it and change it or upload a transcript or do stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that YouTube understands human language at about a 6th or 7th grade level, which means it can generate those captions, which means it can hear what you're saying and write the words down, transcribe the words, and then because it has a transcription that it uses, that gets indexed and becomes part of the search. Now, it ain't perfect, like I said, but it becomes part of the search. So you increase the ability of your content being found because it's generated a transcript or it's generated the captions for it, and those captions are indexed. So it knows that, hey, you talk about biblical marriage. So when someone does a search on biblical marriage, there's a greater chance that your content will be found out. Now, you can also put all that information in the description, and that really helps as well. YouTube is a free platform, so it's a great place, and it's got its own ecosystem, and it's got its own... there are people that only operate on YouTube, only watch things on YouTube, so you can minister to those people on that platform. So publish it. Also gives you the ability to take that and embed it on the post on your website, okay? So now you've got the YouTube video posted on your website. Now, on the other side of this, the next thing you should be doing is podcasting an audio podcast, 2 versions of the audio podcast. That's going to be the entire service, because there's people that are going to want to be driving in the car doing the praise and worship and then sit there for 30 minutes and listen to the sermon. They got a long commute. And then there's just the sermon version, because there's people that are like, I don't want to be singing in the car. I don't want to have to skip forward. I don't want to do anything. I just want to hear the next iteration in this series, this sermon series. So I'm going to only subscribe to the sermon-only version of the audio podcast. So you're going to do both of those. You're going to do the same thing with video. And this is where some of your redundancy and safety comes in. Because you're podcasting, and you're podcasting audio and video, and you're paying, $30 a month or $40 a month or whatever for your podcasting host, like Podbean. If you go to getpodbean.com, that's who we're using at our church. Love Podbean. What Podbean does is they're, it's like $340 a year or something. But it comes out to like $30 a month, I think it is. But you can get audio and video podcasting, which is cool. So you can upload your video, you can upload your audio, you can upload multiple versions, like I talk about, sermon-only audio, sermon-only video, full audio, full video. You can upload them there, and then you can tag them, okay? You can make a tag that's going to basically act like a category, and you can then basically build a separate iTunes feed based on those categories or those tags, right? So you can have, iTunes can have like 4 different versions from your church showing up in there, which is really cool. Another thing that's great about that is you're now putting your video in a separate location, a location that you're actually paying for, that you actually have some control over, okay? Which means if YouTube says, no more churches, we don't want churches, or we're shutting your channel down because it's controversial or whatever, they do that and it goes away. Now you can just go and embed on the post your video version from your podcast host. Now, hey Dave, why don't we do that first? I say don't do that. I say embed the YouTube version because you want to grow your YouTube channel. You want to grow the viewers on your channel, and you get to do things like have end screens on your YouTube channel where you can have like some icons that show up at the end where people can click and move on to the next video in your series, or the previous video in your series, or they can click to subscribe. They can do stuff like that. Even if they're not on the YouTube platform, if it's embedded in your website, YouTube still sees that as being on their platform, and so they can serve up the next video to you or the next playlist or what have you. So that's a real benefit to helping you build your YouTube channel. And the more viewers you have on your YouTube channel, the more you're going to have people that are going to want to engage with you, and the more you can minister to them, okay? So we're using the podcast video as our backup plan if YouTube goes away. Those are some tips and some things that you can do to kind of help disaster-proof, if possible, or minimize the disaster or the effect of the disaster if these platforms start changing things and decide that they don't want us to play on it for whatever reason. Okay, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I know I got kind of long trying to make the point, and I hope I made the point. Some people are going to say, well, we shouldn't even be on YouTube if it's going to be like, we can lose everything, we shouldn't even be on there. No. These are very beneficial platforms. YouTube is like the number 2 most trafficked and used search engine in the world, because you can search in YouTube, right? It's like number 2. It's like Google's number 1, and Google owns YouTube, and YouTube's number 2, okay? So you want to have a presence on YouTube. Use that, okay, while you can, and there's nothing that's, I don't think that next month or next year or in 5 years even that they're going to start pulling the hammer down on us or something like that, and they may never do that, okay? But just because we don't have direct control over the longevity of our content on that platform, because we're not paying for it, and in a lot of cases we're not monetizing off of it, we're kind of at their mercy, okay? So use it while you can, and if something better comes along, use that as well. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook is heavily trafficked. Tons of engagement happen there. Build a community. Do that on there. But be sure that you're also building your email list, and you're definitely pouring everything into your church's website so that if Facebook decides we're going to sell and we're going to change our business model and we're going to go away, like MySpace. Where's MySpace now? Is it even a thing? I mean, MySpace was huge. People built businesses around MySpace. MySpace is gone. So things can change. If you're focused on your website and your mailing list and your podcast, things that you own, okay, then you've got a lot of flexibility, and you can minimize the potential for disaster if things start changing. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Hey, if you guys are interested in live streaming or thinking about adding live streaming to your ministry in 2018, I got a free resource for you. I've got a free guide called Live Streaming for Churches the Easy Way, and you guys can go to easylivestreaming.com and put your name and your email address, and I will send it to you, and it will open your eyes to how you can add live streaming to your ministry. And it's not just like streaming your service. In fact, you can add live streaming to your ministry today without ever broadcasting the service, which is really cool. So I show you how to do that. We talk about that in there. I would love for you guys to have that resource and start making live streaming a part of your church's ministry. It's a wonderful tool and wonderful way to start engaging people in these social platforms, especially like on Facebook. Have an absolutely fantastic week. Take what you've learned today and start changing lives.